Hey, what is going on, guys? This is CodedSteele, and welcome back to another App Inventor application tutorial. Actually, I'm going to show you guys how to build a simple little application. Um, but before we get into that, I want to thank everybody for all the input that I've been getting lately. I've gotten literally a ton of viewer requests for certain applications, and it has been keeping me rather busy. So I really do appreciate that. Um, it's keep it coming, guys. Obviously, it makes it a lot easier if I know exactly what you guys are interested in seeing. I kind of know exactly what I need to do to improve these videos or what it is that everybody's interested in seeing. So one quick thing, there seems to be a little bit of an echo in here. I do apologize for that. I'm not in my usual room here. I'm actually in a hotel room. So yeah, your first App Inventor tutorial brought to you from a hotel room. Nice. Um, um, anyways, so this application is another viewer request that I had gotten from somebody, and what it basically asked was something general like, how do you use the TimePicker component, or can you show a tutorial on how to use the TimePicker? So I kind of started thinking about, okay, sure, I can show you how to use the TimePicker, but I wanted to think of something creative or a creative way to use it. I didn't want to just, boom, here's the TimePicker and then display it on the screen or something like that. That would be kind of stupid. So I wanted to think of a good way to use the TimePicker. And kind of what came to my head was an alarm clock. Why not show like an alarm clock like application or something like that, and kind of show something to that effect. So that's what I did. I actually turned around and I kind of created just a simple alarm clock. Nothing too extravagant. This is our user interface, and nothing really great. Just the text for the time, or the time picker button, and then a button here, which I'll explain what that button does in a minute, and a clock and a player. So nothing real fancy schmancy, but so yeah, to set up the designer component, drag a time picker in, located over here over the user interface, whatever, and then drag a button in over here. Button, I don't know if we discussed this or talked about this in the past, but you can change the text color down here with this little text color button. So that's how I made the color red by default like that. We didn't change anything else. I just put the text as off, whatever. And then we have a clock, and the clock was down here, should be down here in the sensors. Yep, drag the clock in, and then player, which is going to be under media, and then I dragged the player in. So we have not discussed the player. We have used the clock component in the past. Not these blocks that we're going to be using today are different than other blocks we've used in the past, but the player component is something new. The player, the way you can think about it is, players, what they're usually good for are they're good for songs. But in this case, I use it to play a railroad crossing sound, which we're going to explain in just a second. But you have sounds and you have a player. Well, for an alarm clock, basically you want stuff to the sound to be playing for quite a while. The sound component down here is more commonly used. It'll even show you right here. Basically, you want it such as sound effects is what it's saying. So what it means by like sound effects is like a sword slashing or something to that effect. Ting, ting, ting noises like that. It's not designed to be like 30-second clips. So we kind of had to think of a different way or different component to use for that. So to make it to where it would work with an alarm clock, we used the player component. And the player has several advantages over the sound component. First of all, the sound component is just it plays the sound once and you're done. Or you can vibrate the stuff and you're done. The player component has a little bit more features, kind of like an actual MP3 player or something like that. You can loop the audio, you can do stuff like that. So with an alarm clock, usually you'd want to, what they do is they don't like have a 3 million second long, ringtone or an alarm clock tone programmed into the thing. They just loop the same sound over and over again. So the thing just goes ahead has like a 1 second or 10-second clip or something, and then it just repeats that clip over and over again, really, as soon as it reaches the end of the file, it immediately starts the file back up or whatever, or it immediately, in the sense of how a controller is programmed, it does the sound. Once it reaches the end of the loop, it starts the loop over again. So we had to create a loop in order for it to actually be an alarm clock. We'll discuss that in a second. First of all, so we placed the clock in the player, and not first of all because we've had a lot of stuff there. The next thing we have to worry about is this railroad.mp3. All right, I downloaded this. Well, yeah, kind of, I guess. I got this file, and I actually uploaded this file to our App Inventor environment here from this URL right here. So you guys can go ahead and you can go to this exact URL right there. Maybe I'll even post the link in the description. And then you can go ahead and you can download these free sound clips from soundbible.com. It actually has this little train clip here, which you can play, and it'll just play a very annoying train sound, which you guys will hear in just a minute once we play it. So you would download this off of here, and you should just be able to download it by clicking that. And then it will download it to your computer, and then once you download it, you can go ahead and you can say upload the file. You would choose a file, and then wherever you downloaded the file to on your computer, which is wherever that would be, I don't know where you guys, put your stuff, but mine went into my downloads folder, so I selected it there. I hit OK, and then I uploaded the file, and we were good to go. So, yeah, I'm not going to upload it again because we already have it uploaded. So railroad.mp3, I uploaded it to App Inventor, and then now it populates over here in the media tab. So once you do that, you've got pretty much everything set up as far as the user interface stuff is concerned. So now we need to go ahead and go into the logic programming for this software here. So, all right, kind of what we got going on over here. Nothing really difficult to understand. This is all there really is to it. This is probably the most complicated block right here, but we will get to that in just a second. So what we do is we declare 6 variables here: time, hour, minute, enabled, and started. So time here is a variable that we use to store the time for the phone. More on that in a second. Hour and minute are what we use to store the hour and the minute for the phone or the device. Enabled is to say whether the alarm clock is actually enabled or it's turned off. So if you turn off the alarm clock, we don't want it to keep sounding, so we want to be able to turn it off. So we do that. Started basically is a Boolean variable to let us know if it's true, then that means the stuff is playing. That means the loop is playing. If it's false, the loop is not playing. Simple enough. All right. Yeah. So now what we've got to do is you got to discuss this time after time set block here. So when you click that time clicker TimePicker, not time clicker, when you click the TimePicker here, it's going to go ahead and it's going to pull up a window that's going to ask you to set the hour and the minute. And then it's also going to ask you to set whether it's AM or PM. All right. So you would go ahead and you would program in a time. Once that's hit, this event handler is called, which is going to allow us to, say it's going to basically after this event is run when the user has set the time in the pop dialog. So as soon as you set it, it's going to call this event handler. Well, we need to do something with the hour and the minute that the user just selected. We need to do something with that information. So what we're actually going to do with it is we're going to store it. And we're going to store it in these 2 variables, hour and minute. That was the purpose of these 2 variables right up here. So we're storing the hour and the minute. This is the programmed hour and minute for the time picker. So this will be the equivalent of selecting your alarm time. What time do I want my alarm clock to go off? I want it to go off at this hour and at this minute. So we're just taking that information and we're storing it in here. Pretty simple. All right. And then the next thing we do down here is this. We have this clock1.timer. So basically every second, at least I think it's set for every second, or maybe nope, I have it set for every half a second. So 500 right here means every half a second. 1,000 would be every second. So I think you guys can see where the trend is going. 1,000. This is displaying in milliseconds. I just set to have a half a second because it's arbitrary. Suppose you could set it to a quarter of a second by typing in 250 or whatever, but I set it to half a second. I think that pulls it quick enough. So every half a second, it's going to call this thing and it's going to say, okay, the timer has gone off. Literally meaning it's been half a second, so let's do some stuff. What we're going to do is we're going to take the time and we're going to call clock1.now and we're going to store the time in here. And then we're going to take and we're going to, from the clock1.now, we're going to get the minute and we're going to get the hour. Okay, this is the critical thing that I'm going to need to explain. All right, the time component works like this. Whenever you call, if we take a look at the clock component, we can actually look at this. Whenever we call clock1.now, it is set, it's going to take and it's going to read the current system time of the device, be it your phone or whatever it is that you are looking at. It's going to take that, a snapshot of that time, the year, the day, the month, the year, the day, the month, the year, the day, the month, the second, the minute, the hour. It's going to take all of those readings and it's going to go ahead and say, all right, I'm going to take a snapshot of that information and I'm going to store it all in one variable. Okay, but that doesn't really do us very good because we kind of want to we want to be able to do stuff or handle that information. So what we have to go ahead and do is we take that information, we store it, and then we can break it apart. Let's say we want the minute, so I can call that minute handler here, and I can say, okay, well, I'm going to take the time component that I just stored up here, and I'm going to plug that in here and get the minute, and then store that in a minute variable, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the hour. I'm going to say get the hour from that time and store that in here, and good to go. Well, not storing it. Sorry, we're doing a comparison. Remember, we're trying to do a comparison and see if the current time is equal to the time that we programmed with the TimePicker. I am explaining this very terribly. Sorry about that. But and then if it is, that's great. Okay, but that's only half of what's going on here. The alarm clock has to be enabled. That's one of the steps. And then it also has to be not started. So what I mean by not started here is that it better not be going off already. So that means the alarm better not be sounding. If the alarm's already sounding, we're not going to do this stuff anymore because it's already sounding. It's already doing stuff. Why would I have it continuously pull this and restart the sound clip? That wouldn't make any sense. So we want to stop it from doing that. And the way we stop that from doing that is we say if it's not started, well, sure, great, we'll go in here, and then we set started to true so it won't come back in here again until you actually turn the enable off. Once you turn the enable off, then it goes ahead and says, okay, you actually turn the alarm clock off, and then once you turn it back on, it'll let you, it'll try to come back in here again if the times are equal and all that stuff. So one other important thing I do have to explain here is you guys might be wondering, okay, why did you actually go through this extra step of taking the clock1.now and plugging it into the time variable? Well, why didn't I just put that here and this here? Okay, the reason I did that was because if you did that here, you're going to take the reading of the system time once and then the system time again. What that's going to do is that's going to give you different system times. Now, obviously, that's not pertinent to something like minute and hour, because the minute and hour are not likely to change in the split second that it's going to take for it to do a reading on both of these things. But what you do got to understand is that if we were trying to pull for the second, yeah, that could be very critical here, because now we're going ahead and we're saying pull it here, pull it here. Well, we might have just missed our window for that second or something like that. So I'm basically just trying to instill a good practice, a good programming practice into stuff. It's good to take a snapshot of the thing and store it first before actually doing stuff with that information. That way you make sure you're doing, when you're processing time, you're processing the exact same time variable, not a different time variable. If I used this here and this here, I would be using two different times that would maybe be a second or two apart, which is not critical, but it would be a good thing to get in the practice of doing stuff like that, especially if you have time critical applications. So that's why I went through this extra step here to do that. If it passes this, global start is going to be set to true, which is great. The player is going to start, and then we're going to set the loop to true. So loop is basically, all right, I think we have a 30-second sound clip here. As soon as this, if loop is set to true, as soon as the 30-second sound clip, okay, that was delayed reaction from the audio file opening on the, yeah. That was that delayed reaction from this. I don't know why that took so long. Anyways, all right. What was I saying? Yeah, if we set the loop to true, after every 30 seconds, it's going to go ahead and it's going to say, all right, it's 30 seconds. The song's not playing anymore. We're going to make it play again. All right. Do it again and again and again. The sound does not have that capability, so that's why you needed to add the loop on here to keep the alarm going on. You don't want it to just go off for 30 seconds. The person might not wake up. They might be a heavy sleeper like I am, and they're not going to wake up right away. So they need that window of opportunity there to have it continuously reset. And the other thing is if any of this fails, we're automatically just going to stop the player. Yeah, sure. So that's kind of what's going on there. All right. Okay. So that's pretty much that. The other thing we got to discuss here is the button. Basically, we're just looking at a few little variables here. If get global enabled, basically meaning if this variable is true, set it to false. Set the text color to red, set the text to off, and then stop the player. So basically, if the alarm clock is turned off, if you push the button to turn it off, we want to make it to where the player's not going to play anymore. We don't want any, crap to go on anymore. Yeah, we don't need that. However, if it's on, we're going to go ahead and set the color to green. I don't think App Inventor has a completely green color by default, so they may. I didn't see one when I was going through the colors list, so I just specified a color with this. This looks completely green, but I think it's like only a certain component green. It's not completely green, so yeah, kind of bummer there. That's why I didn't use that. So I used this instead. And then switch the text to on, and then says global started to false. So basically we're saying, okay, it's not started, because if you just turn the alarm clock on, the alarm is not going to be on right away. It's going to be off. So we need to, we're going to need to do this check again. So hopefully that all makes sense to you guys. It's a pretty straightforward app. It's not... like I said, the most complicated block is here, and if you can understand that, I think you pretty much have got the whole app down pat. It's very simple little app to make. As always, we've got to do a demonstration. That's just kind of how I roll. So what we're going to do here is right now it's 11:44 p.m. where I'm at right now. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say set. We have it set for 11:45, and now I'm going to turn the alarm clock on. So what we're going to see here, and actually it started really quickly. I think you guys can hear that. That is the Bell MP3 player, .mp3 file that we have. So if I click this off button up here, it turns the alarm clock off. However, if I do turn the alarm clock back on, it's going to start playing right away because it's still 11:45. Once a minute passes and it reaches 11:46, the alarm clock will no longer operate because it's past the alarm set time. So it would not go off again. If I turn this back on as soon as the clock went to 11:46, and we can actually simulate that by, I'll just turn around and I will switch this down to 11:44 instead of waiting for the time to change. And then I turn this on, we can see that this does not trigger. So what's going to happen now, what would happen now is at precisely or pretty close to 11:44 p.m. tomorrow night, the bell would start firing again. And then we would hit the off button to turn it off just like we did just now. So that is essentially how this application works. I mean, there's really nothing to it. It was just a quick little demo to show you guys how the TimePicker component worked. Feel free to use, like I said, as always, feel free to use any part of this application in your code. However, do be conscientious of the fact that I do not own this sound effect. I was merely using it for the application here just to show you guys how it works. I'm pretty sure it's completely open source, and that the company here would have no problems with you guys using it in your own applications to sell. But you might want to check up on the license thing, licensing information here on the page. I'm not selling this app or anything like that. I'm not interested in doing anything like that right now. So I was just trying to show you guys where to find a cool sound effects. This site seems to be a really good place to use sound effects for your apps. So anyways, I think that is all I have for you guys for this tutorial. Please like, comment, subscribe. Please do keep coming up with more suggestions for applications. I do have a few that are sitting in a application pool, so to speak, or a tutorial pool, so to speak. And I definitely will be working on some of those here in the near future, and we'll just keep going at this and for as long as we can. Thank you guys for watching this tutorial, and I will see you guys in the very next one.